5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great book to help you with anxiety, especially for public speaking. All right, so let me see if anyone else jumps on. I got my water here. I already had coffee, so now I'm watering myself all day. And I am going to talk to you guys today about depression, anxiety, and perfectionism. And I've actually been wanting to talk about this for a while, but I was anxious about talking about anxiety, of course, right? So, here is, let me talk. So first I'm going to outline kind of where I was and how my life occurred for me before. And then I will, let me see. Okay. And then I'll kind of talk about what I've been using to help me kind of combat this and how I'm winning. Okay. So the first thing is, so I think I always had a problem with depression, and probably since like middle school. I think I went to grammar school out of district, and when because they had an after school program, and I think I've shared this before, and then when I transferred over to go to middle school, I didn't know anybody because I had to go back to school in district. And I think that's kind of when my anxiety and depression started, because that's when I really felt for the first time super lonely. I didn't have any friends. You're in middle school, you're awkward, right? All of those things. And so I think that's kind of when it really started for me. And I just never really recognized it. And I think it just kind of got worse as I got older, felt more isolated, felt more alone. Let's see if I can get through this without crying. And so one of the ways, like in college, I drank and I smoked pot. That's kind of how I combated that, right? And actually I smoked pot until it really didn't help me anymore. And that was in college. So I stopped smoking pot in college, but I used that as a coping mechanism for a long time. And so one of the ways I combated kind of my lack in this world is through perfectionism. So I have notes here because I want to make sure I get everything through. So I used perfectionism as a coping skill to make up for my own lack of self-worth. So how did I do that? Well, I always wanted everything to be perfect. Like seriously, guys, my wedding was perfect. When we had kids, we had the boy, we had the girl. Everything was always perfectly perfect. I always had to have my house in order, perfect. Everything always had to be in a row. And that caused me a ton of anxiety because nobody can be perfect. And so I was anxious all the time. So, that caused anxiety. What else caused anxiety? Events, like going and being with people caused anxiety because I really had a low self-esteem. And so, what would I do? As soon as I had a couple of drinks, I was good to go. But, I needed that. That was like a crutch for me. Events too that I would host. So I love hosting events, but they would cause me a lot of stress and anxiety because I wanted everything to be perfect, right? And so, it also showed up in depression for me. So there's lots of different forms of depression. There's seasonal depression, which is something that I get. And then there's also, so one thing that I learned in my mindset course is that we have an emotional scale, and a step up from depression is anger. And that is that's where I turn to. So if you ever know people that are really angry in their life, they're really depressed. And because what feels better than being depressed? Angry, because you're feeling something, right? And so that's like there's an emotional ladder that we go up, and the next level after depression is anger. So I was angry a lot, and no one knew this. Honestly, people did not know I was angry inside. That's something, no one knows what it's like to live in someone else's shoes. So I looked very happy, I'm sure, to the outside world, but I wasn't. And the thing is, I lived on autopilot. Like I just was that this is how it was, that this is how it had to be. I didn't really realize how unhappy I was because I got so settled into that life that I was so settled into living that way that I didn't even realize it was a problem, that I wasn't lit up inside, that this is just how it had to be. And we settle in life, right? And we don't shoot for more. And anytime like I thought about more in my life, that negative voice, anxiety, pressure, all of that stress would come in and shut it down. And so a great book that really helped me too with my anxiety is the 5-second rule. She talks about that a lot, and just a lot of the books. With my perfectionism, The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. Oh my God, that was like I like got so much out of that book. And so slowly, obviously doing personal development and all of that, but there was some also other big things that I used to combat some of this stuff. So I want to kind of go over what those exact things were. So the first is, obviously, when I started coaching, was diet and exercise. That's a no-brainer. When you exercise, you produce endorphins. That's it makes you feel good, and you get better sleep, right? You develop more confidence, more self-esteem in yourself, and also, when you have a good diet and you're fueling yourself with good foods, you don't feel like crap, you don't feel lethargic, you don't feel dragged down. For me, my lows, and still I combat lows in like the afternoons, where you feel lethargic and you have low energy and all of that. And what I do in the afternoons is I get outside, I go out and take the dog outside for a walk, or I'll do some exercises, or I kind of bring my energy up. So it's really important to do something to bring your energy up when you're going through this stuff. The other thing is, you guys know I drink a superfood shake. There's a lot of superfoods have a lot of medicinal properties that are all natural that they actually take and put into medicine. So like ashwagandha root, it's really great for anxiety. Really, really good for anxiety and depression. So is maca root. So I'm getting all these superfoods, I'm fueling my body, and it's really helping. So diet and exercise, no brainer. We all know that it helps with everything. So what else has really helped me? Well, back in October, I took a mindset course. And it was a 5-week course. Dr. Vic, he lives here in LaGrange, amazing guy, wrote a book, has a podcast, super cool, chiropractor. I took his mindset course, and we spent 1 full week learning about meditation and how it can change your life. And so we talked about different kinds of meditation, and why does meditation help in your life? Well, first of all, Anxiety it really helps with your anxiety. It is an emotional response, right? So when you meditate, you're able to settle your brain, and you actually you reprogram your neural pathways, I'm reading this, in the brain to help you be able to regulate your emotions, right? So you can calm yourself down. That's really huge. You learn to like know your senses, like recognize when you're feeling that stress and becoming really present to where you are at in life. And so being present is so huge, because what's anxiety? Anxiety is worry and stress about the future, worrying about your bills, or worrying about what people are going to think about you, or worrying about an event, all those things. That's stuff that, it's worrying about the future. So meditation can really help you with that. And so I started a daily meditation practice in October, and I've continued it to now, and it's been life-changing. And meditation is something, it's like a muscle, like anything else. You work it, right? So you have to do it every day. You have to really learn to focus your brain, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. First, you start out with like lead meditations, and then you can move on. Now I'm at the point where I just meditate to music, and I'm able to get to that Zen place and clear my brain and really let go. And that's what it is, right? Letting go. Because anxiety, perfectionism, all that shit, it's all about letting go of stuff, right? So, thank you, Kathy. Okay, so meditation, huge. So one of the other things, this is huge, you guys, and this has really been life-changing, is breath work. I had no idea what the hell breath work was. And my friend Deborah, who's on here, introduced me to it, and so did Dr. Vic. And we did a lot about breath work. So there's all different kinds of breath work. One breath work that has really helped me, especially when so I said I have problems with perfectionism, right? And so my kids, bless their souls, they chose me as a mom, so they're lucky. But I get anxiety when they're like tearing my fucking shit apart, my house and everything else, And so one thing I've learned to do is called breath work, and it's the Wim Hof method of breath work. So it's power breathing and controlled hyperventilation. And what it does is it calms your nervous system down, so that it literally changed the composition of what's going on in your body, so that you can calm down and be present. And then you're not in panic mode. And so that has been really life-changing, especially with children, especially when I'm feeling like, you know what, I can't handle this. You can handle it. Step aside, go do some breath work, come back, and you're reprogrammed. You're ready. You know what I mean? So So it's made a huge difference. The other thing is, and Wim Hof, I'll put a link in the comments below because it has been life-changing. And one thing I do is I'll do this before I meditate, and that really can help calm your mind down, because most people say, I sit down to meditate and I just can't, my brain keeps going and going and going. Well, you gotta breathe. Just breathe, right? So you got to breathe. And once you breathe and do like some Wim Hof or either some square breathing, and square breathing is where you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. That's square breathing, and it calms your brain down and it makes you be able to focus. And one thing I do when I meditate is I actually focus on a couple different words. You know, if you're not doing a guided, it'll be like love, connection, power, whatever it is. Choose some powerful words for yourself. And sometimes that really helps me clear my brain when I'm meditating, but breath work really clears your brain for meditating too. So the Wim Hof, really great method. Square breathing, great method. And then the other thing, which is another huge thing, is after I'm done meditating, I do gratitude journaling. And I put my nose up at this forever. I was like, I don't fucking need a gratitude journal. I'm grateful, right? No, you do, especially if you have everybody should actually. And after I meditate, I feel like that's when my mind is clear enough to really get into gratitude journaling, and I'm kind of like free and in that place of, and sometimes meditation can get emotional. Like you feel so good that you cry, honestly. And so I have my gratitude journal here, and I gratitude a couple pages, and you'll be surprised like what comes out, you know, and you just write, and you write and write and write, and that's been huge. So I do the gratitude journaling, and it helps. So all of this right together is super impactful, and like anything else, you have to do it every single day. Right? Because it's all about changing your mindset. It's all about changing the neural pathways in your brain. It's all about cultivating a space where you're feeling good, present in the moment, and not always about what's going to happen. And that's been huge for me. So I think I covered it all. I'm glad I went live and I was able to share that. If you know anybody who like really struggles with anxiety and depression and some of these things, please share this, because these things have been life-changing for me. And my everyday looks so different than it used to be. You know, I used to be so sad and lonely and isolated, and I looked so happy, and I wasn't. And life is too short to live that way. That's not what we were not meant to be sad, lonely, depressed. Okay, we were meant to be connected, inspired, and feeling good, you know? So this has actually turned full circle into a complete spiritual journey for me. So I started coaching, I started working on personal development, and now I'm like in this spiritual journey, and it's just made a huge, I'm a different person, and I'm so happy for that. So anytime I can share, I'll share with you guys. Thank you for watching. I was like so anxious about going live about this, but I knew I had to share my truth, and hopefully somebody out there would get something from it. So sending you love, mwah, and gratitude, and have an awesome Friday. Love you guys. Bye.